Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Today it's our travel unit.
Yay.
And there are all sorts of places in the world and in Taiwan that we can go to, but now we're going to the southern hemisphere. We are going down under, which can refer to, I guess, both Australia and New Zealand. And we're going to the latter place there, New Zealand.
Yeah, I've never been there, but it looks beautiful. If you've ever watched any of the movies called the Lord of the Rings series and The Hobbit had 3 movies too. Those were filmed in New Zealand. You can see some beautiful scenery in those films. I would like to go someday. Yeah.
Well, I was doing some research before and did want to go, but then I found out, well, it's kind of a new country, so if you like like European castles and old brick buildings and stuff like that. You're not going to find it there, but what you are going to find is a lot of stuff in the great outdoors, big mountains, and I guess it's an outdoor lover's paradise. If you like hiking and rock climbing and scuba diving, you name it, they've got it, so it's the place for you. It is an outdoor paradise. So from north to south, we are exploring New Zealand's beauty in today's program, so let's get to it. Here's our article now presented to you, read one time. Soaring high above the majestic peaks of New Zealand's southern Alps, you gaze out the small plane's window in awe of the striking beauty far below. You're on the way to Milford Sound, a fjord on the southwestern coast of the South Island. Also known as the 8th wonder of the world, Milford Sound is home to some of nature's most breathtaking sights. By the time you land, you'll be more than ready for your overnight cruise through the impressive inlet. You'll sail past the iconic Meter Peak, towering waterfalls, and plenty of wildlife, including dolphins, penguins, and many native birds. New Zealand is separated into 2 islands. Its diverse geography features everything from high-reaching mountains and glaciers to fertile green valleys and the rugged cliffs and sandy beaches that make up its more than 15,000 kilometers of coastline. Inhabiting both islands is a population of 4.6 million, 15% of which is Maori, the indigenous people. Dwarfing the human population, however, are the nation's sheep. In fact, for every person in New Zealand, there are 6 sheep. Though tiny in comparison to its closest neighbor, Australia, New Zealand is not lacking in rich cultural history. The Maori especially have an intriguing and somewhat fierce past. They're renowned for the haka, an intense war dance used to intimidate enemies. The All Blacks, New Zealand's rugby team, even perform the haka at the start of every match. The team's symbol, the silver fern, is another important piece of New Zealand heritage. The fern guides the Maori through dark forests as it catches the moonlight and illuminates their path. Not to be forgotten is the kiwi, which can refer to either the nocturnal flightless bird, the people of New Zealand themselves, or the tart green fruit that grows abundant on the North Island.
Okay, we're going to be exploring the country of New Zealand. We're going from north to south, and it says here we're going to explore. Explore just means you're going to travel in or through a place and try to get to know it better, familiarize yourself with it. And we're going to be talking about a lot of the wonderful things that New Zealand offers, like the scenery, some of the fruit they have, the people, the Maori people who are native there, and even some birds. So let's get going on this. The first sentence says we're soaring high above the majestic peaks of New Zealand's southern Alps. And here you're gazing out the small plane's window in awe of the striking beauty below. So we're kind of setting the scene here. If you soar, you're going really high up into the air. We often use soar to talk about birds who are soaring through the skies, or maybe a plane. Here we're actually in the air in a plane, and we're looking down at the beauty below.
Majestic, right. When you see that word, of course, it has to do with majesty, which often is used to describe royalty, the king and the queen and stuff like that. Your majesty, what is your command? So majestic here kind of implies that it's really big, really large, like a royal family, I guess, like a big castle or something like that. And, of course, we have their mountain range, which is called the Southern Alps of New Zealand. The original Alps are in Europe there. The mountain range in Europe is called the Alps, but they use that to refer to mountains in other parts of the world. I think sometimes they refer to the mountain ranges in Japan as the Japan Alps, but here we've got the Alps or the mountains in New Zealand. At least this particular mountain range is on the southern island or the South Island.
Yeah, those are the mountains that you'll see in those movies I was mentioning earlier, The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. So pretty. So if you're gazing, guys, you're looking very intently at something. You're just focused on that thing. Maybe you look at it for quite a while. Maybe you're surprised at what you see, or you're admiring what you see, or maybe you're just thinking about something as you look at whatever you're looking at. So they're gazing out of a small plane's window, and they're in awe of the striking beauty below. If you're in awe of something, guys, it's like your jaw's dropping. You can't believe what you're seeing or hearing. Wow, you're really admiring something if you're in awe of something. And striking beauty just means it's so stunning that it's almost like someone hits you, slaps your face. Wow, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. You bet. So, yeah, if you're flying in a plane, this is what you might expect to see, soaring above the majestic Southern Alps. Okay, so you see the striking beauty down there. Why are you doing this? Well, you're on your way to Milford Sound, a fjord on the southwestern coast of the South Island. Milford, that's just a name here. And sound here, in this particular case, it's a noun. It refers to a body of water that's kind of thin that connects to larger bodies of water. And so this one's called Milford Sound, but also they're describing it as a fjord. Fjord is usually in Iceland or Norway, where it's a large inlet coming in from the ocean, and it was carved out by glaciers, at least in the case of Iceland and Norway. So they're very severe, they're very steep, they're very scenic and things like that. And you don't really see them in any other place besides Iceland and Norway. And I guess in this case, you can see a fjord down in New Zealand.
So it's also known as the eighth wonder of the world. So we're talking about really great scenery here. I would actually like to see that. It's home to some of nature's most breathtaking sights. If you're home to something, it means something can be found there. By the time you land, you'll be more than ready for your overnight cruise through the impressive inlet. Tom used that word inlet earlier.
I did.
Yeah. So by the time you land, maybe you're getting all prepared as you're in the plane. And once it lands, you're all set. So you'll be ready for that overnight cruise. Ooh, cool. So you're going to get on a boat, it sounds like, and cruise through the inlet. A cruise is just when you sail about in an area. Maybe you're doing it for pleasure. Typically, we go on cruises when we're on vacation, right?
We certainly do. Of course, if you're from the United States or Canada, you probably go to cruises or go on cruises to the Caribbean there because it's nice and warm, or you go down to Mexico or something like that. There are also cruises up to Alaska, for example. But here, of course, here in Taiwan, we have cruises going from Geelong over to Okinawa and other places as well. So here you're going on a cruise in New Zealand, and it's an overnight cruise, which means you're on the boat overnight. You probably have your own cabin that you can sleep in and stuff like that. And so you're going through this very impressive inlet, and you'll sail past the iconic Meter Peak, which I guess is a very tall mountain. We've also got towering waterfalls. Towering means they're as tall as a tower. They're very tall and thin, so these are waterfalls that are falling from a very high place and falling hundreds of meters. And also you can see plenty of wildlife, which includes dolphins and also penguins. They're pretty far south down here, so here's your chance to see some of those web-footed little creatures there that we see in movies all the time.
That wear tuxedos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also you can see lots of native birds, birds that you don't find in other parts of the world if you're into bird watching.
You might like this place because you're into bird watching.
A little bit, yeah, or any kind of wildlife. It sounds kind of interesting. And so that, of course, is what's available in New Zealand here. Let's talk about this a little bit more before we take a break here. Let's go on to the next paragraph. It says,
we go.
New Zealand is separated into 2 islands. I think most of us know this by now. There's the North Island and the South Island, and its diverse geography features everything from high-reaching mountains and glaciers to fertile green valleys and the rugged cliffs and sandy beaches that make up its more than 15,000 kilometers of coastline.
Pretty.
Okay, that is a pretty long sentence there.
Yeah.
We're talking about ranging from various things to other things. So it's ranging from high-reaching mountains and glaciers to these fertile green valleys and all that coastline and the beaches and stuff like that. So this range includes all this diverse geography. Diverse means you've got all sorts of different things all together, a great deal of variety. You could talk about the diverse population of cities like Toronto or New York or London. They've got all sorts of different kinds of people living there, a diverse population. But here we've got diverse geography with a big range of stuff. Mountains, valleys, plains, beaches. Oh, it's got everything.
Yeah. It's got some high-reaching mountains that are really high, reach up into the sky, and glaciers to fertile green valleys. So we've got something we're going from these mountains and glaciers to, this is our range, fertile or fertile. I also wanted to mention diverse is also pronounced diverse. We have a coworker of ours, Mike. He's Canadian. He loves to say diverse. So diverse. Here we've got glaciers. Ooh. I always picture New Zealand being really warm and stuff, but they've got a lot of ice. They've got fjords. Here's a glacier. It's a slow-moving big piece of ice that's formed, and sometimes it'll be below the water and you can't see it. Sometimes it'll come up and it'll be below and above the water. They've got some glaciers. They've also got fertile green valleys. If an area is described as fertile, it just means it's very, very green. Things grow easily there. I think they get a lot of water, so it's pretty beautiful. They've also got some rugged cliffs. Rugged just means not smooth. Maybe the mountains have a lot of rocks and cliffs on them, so they're kind of rocky and even.
Of course, we've got lots of beaches and the coastline here, of course, which is the part of the land that touches the ocean. Well, that's a lot to talk about, and we're going to talk some more about what New Zealand has to offer. So let's take a break right now, but stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello everyone, my name is Tina. 从今天开始，连续2天我们要来介绍纽西兰这个国家。这2天的文章呢，许多的句子都很长，因为纽西兰实在是太美了。同学也不妨可以学习这样的写作方式，用来描述地方。首先我们来看到在第一段中间的句子提到 Also known as the 8th wonder of the world,Milford Sound is home to some of nature's most breathtaking sights. 首先第一个要介绍的呢是米尔福德峡湾，这里提到它也呢以这个 8th wonder of the world 世界第8大奇迹而著称。后面的句子再继续说By the time you land, you'll be more than ready for your overnight cruise through the impressive inlet. 因为呢，前面几句是在描述坐在飞机上往下看的感觉，而这里用 by the time， 我们用来表达到了什么什么的时候就怎么样。所以等到你着陆的时候，你会已经准备好要呢去航游在这座令人难忘的海湾。这里的 cruise 可以用来指的是船或者是车子的缓慢航行。比较特别的是 You'll be more than ready， 为什么要再加一个 more than 呢？其实 more than 后面再加上形容词，就是用来强调这个形容词非常的怎么样。举个例子来说， I was more than surprised， 意思就是代表着我非常的惊讶。第二段在这里呢，就来介绍纽西兰呢分成2座岛屿。第二个句子提到 Its diverse geography features everything from high-reaching mountains and glaciers to fertile green valleys and the rugged cliffs and sandy beaches that make up its more than 15,000 kilometers of coastline。我们来看一下，在这里提到的是 diverse geography。diverse当作形容词，有多样的。记得以前曾经考过翻译叫做生物多样性，我们就用这个形容词先变成名词 diversity， 而生物多样性就叫做 biodiversity。 而纽西兰的地形相当的呢具有特色， features 是这里的动词，以什么为特征？它呢，你从高耸的群山，我们这里用了一个形容词 high-reaching 来修饰 mountains， 还有这样子的冰河，一直到 fertile green valleys。 我们这里的 fertile 有指的是土壤非常的肥沃的意思，后面还用一个 that 子句一直括号括到句尾来修饰前面的 cliffs and beaches。 这个海岸线呢是超过15000公里，整个都是崎岖的悬崖跟沙滩。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We are talking about the beautiful country of New Zealand today and in our next program as well. It's a 2-day unit. And we've been talking about some of the beautiful mountains there. They've got a mountain range called the Southern Alps, which is quite beautiful and very famous as well. They've also got a fjord, which I didn't know about, but it's pretty amazing because it's even been talked about as being the 8th wonder of the world, something that is so rare and unique and stunning that it's listed as one of the best places to go and visit in the whole world. We've also got a place called Meter Peak. They've got towering waterfalls. I love waterfalls. And they've got lots of wildlife. They've got dolphins, penguins, which are so cute. Everybody loves those, and a lot of native birds. In the second paragraph, when we left off before the break, we were talking about the fact that New Zealand is separated into 2 different islands. And it's got a lot of diverse geography. So the land is very diverse. It's got a lot of variety, you could say.
So we've been talking about the geography of New Zealand. Let's talk about the people now.
Okay.
Inhabiting both islands is a population of 4.6 million people. Okay, that's not a lot.
No.
That's not much more than the population of Taipei City here. I think Taipei...
No, Taipei is 8 million.
Is it 8?
Yeah.
Okay, I last heard 5 or 6.
Oh, really?
When you combine Taipei with
Am
Taipei,
I thinking of
Xi'an
New York?
Or Xinbei, I don't know. But
yeah,
I'd have to do some research on that.
I'll
But in any case, still, it's not a lot of people for a country that is as large as New Zealand. And of that population, 15% is Maori, which is the indigenous people. Indigenous means the people who were there originally or first, okay? Which is often like Yuanjumin or Xianjumin or whatever, indigenous. So, yeah, they were there before the Europeans came, and I guess the place is mostly European now. But 15% is... well, that's a pretty good amount of people living there of an indigenous population. Usually they're much smaller than that.
Oh, okay. I just looked up the population of Taipei.
Yeah.
And if you just include Taipei, it's 2.5 million. But if you include New Taipei City, it's 7 million.
Ooh, that's a lot of people.
I know.
That's way more than New Zealand here. So, yeah, if you meet a Kiwi, a New Zealander here in Taiwan, it's very special.
We know a Kiwi who lives here in Taiwan.
Yeah, we do, actually.
Your friend, yeah.
Yeah, but he's actually not Maori. He's something else. But in any case here...
I think they call them Kiwi if they're just from New Zealand.
I guess so, yeah.
Maoris are different.
But in any case here, yes, 15% of the population of New Zealand is Maori, which again is the indigenous people, just like the Aborigines here are the indigenous people as well.
Or the Native Americans in America.
Absolutely. Sometimes you hear the term First Nations when you're referring to those people in Canada or the U.S. And moving on to the next sentence here, it says, dwarfing the human population, however, are the nation's sheep. In fact, for every person in New Zealand, there are 6 sheep.
They got a lot of sheep.
Yeah, everybody always mentions this, too. Yeah, there are so many more sheep in New Zealand than there are people. Yeah, there are so many sheep there that they dwarf the human population. Here, the word dwarf is being used as a verb. That just means it's so much higher in number that it makes that other thing seem really small, like a dwarf.
Yeah. So, though tiny in comparison to its closest neighbor, Australia, New Zealand is not lacking in rich cultural history. It is a lot smaller than Australia, but Australia's huge, I think. Now, if you use this phrase, in comparison to, you're taking two things and you're kind of looking at each and kind of seeing what the differences are, how they're alike, but mostly how they're different too. Here we're talking about size, and we're comparing the sizes of these two places. New Zealand is much smaller. We're using the word tiny when we're comparing it to Australia. I don't think they view themselves as tiny, but they're not as big as Australia. I used to think that, when I was a kid, I used to think that Australia and New Zealand were the same country.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow, you would get people there very angry.
They get mad, yeah.
Sometimes they have sort of maybe cultural sensitivity about that. I'm not from Australia. I'm from New Zealand.
Yeah, they're very proud.
You get the same kind of problem if you mistake a Canadian for being American. You'll be in big trouble if you call somebody from Canada American. They will hate you for the rest of your life. But in any case here, they might have a similar identity issue there in Australia and New Zealand. But again, we're saying that in comparison to, that's when you compare them. So yeah, New Zealand is small when you compare it to Australia.
Yeah, even we use this word tiny, which is really small. But it's not lacking in rich cultural history. Most nations, most countries are very proud of their culture. And culture goes a long way back in time over history. Hopefully, your country, if we're talking to Taiwanese people, you know a lot of your culture here and you're proud of it. The Maori especially have an intriguing and somewhat fierce past. I've seen this intense war dance they're talking about performed live in front of me. It's kind of fun to see because the men are really using very strong, deep voices, and they have moves that are very strong. It's kind of cool if you get to see it. Go on YouTube. You can see it there. They have an intriguing past. If something's intriguing, you're very curious about it. You want to know more about it. Ooh, if someone's intriguing, they're kind of mysterious to you as well, right? So you're kind of fascinated by something that intrigues you. Fierce means aggressive. When I think of fierce, I think of lions and tigers when they attack things, when they attack animals that they're trying to kill and eat. So you're kind of aggressive and you're very violent. So fierce past. I don't know anything about their past, but I know their dance is fierce looking.
Well, they probably had violence in their past, fighting other people or attacking animals or being attacked by animals, whatever. And they're renowned for the haka, an intense war dance used to intimidate enemies. So they are renowned for this. If you are renowned for something, that means you are famous for that thing. You are very well known for that thing. So yes, indeed, they do have this dance called the haka. Nothing to do with the Kejaren here in Taiwan. It's different. It's just a coincidence there. It's an intense war dance, which means it's got a lot of noise and a lot of action. It's not calm. It doesn't put you to sleep. You'll be watching it with great interest. And they did it before for to intimidate their enemies. If you want to intimidate someone, that means you kind of want to, well, I could say you kind of want to psych them out.
You want to scare them a little.
Kind of scare them, right? Make them a little bit frightened before they even start to fight with you. So, indeed, that's what you kind of want to do so you can avoid the fight altogether and they'll just give up without a fight.
Yeah, they have a rugby team there in New Zealand called the All Blacks, and they like to perform this haka dance at the start of every match to kind of scare their opponents. The team symbol is a silver fern, which is a type of plant, and it's another important piece of New Zealand heritage. Your heritage is also your culture and the people that precede you in your family. That's your heritage. The fern guides the Maori through dark forests because it amazingly can catch moonlight. So it kind of is acting as a way to illuminate their path. If you illuminate something, guys, you brighten it. And we use it often figuratively to talk about maybe getting some knowledge or wisdom that helps you figure out life a little bit more. But here, this light would help them find their way in that deep, dark forest.
Yep, the silver fern. It's kind of a symbol of New Zealand, but it's not on the flag. They did try to vote on that recently, but they turned it down. And not to be forgotten is the kiwi. What the heck is a kiwi? Well, there are three things that can be referred to as kiwis.
Yeah.
It can refer to or talk about either the nocturnal flightless bird. Nocturnal means it is mainly active at night. It also can refer to the actual people of New Zealand. Hey, I know a kiwi who lives down the street.
Yeah.
And it can also refer to the fruit. It's a tart green fruit, which is kind of sour, kind of sweet mixed together. And it grows abundantly, which means a lot of it grows there on the North Island. I think the kiwi actually originated in China.
Okay, guys, that's all we have time for today. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and then we'll wrap up.
大家都知道纽西兰的绵羊比人还要来得多，所以在这里第二段后面的句子提到 Dwarfing the human population, however, are the nation's sheep. 这是一个倒装句，主词在最后面的 the nation's sheep. Dwarf 这个字原来当作名词是侏儒的意思，当作动词就有使着它的受词变得矮小，所以这一句就是用来说明纽西兰的羊比人要多的许多。而第三段首先要介绍的就是 the Maori， 也就是他们的毛利人。第三段中间的句子提到 They are renowned for the haka, an intense war dance used to intimidate enemies. 一提到毛利人，大家就想到他们的战舞 war dance 叫做呢 haka. Used to 是 VPP 表被动，这个战舞是用来胁迫恐吓敌人的。最后面当然要提到 kiwi 这个字咯。 Not to be forgotten is the kiwi, which can refer to either the nocturnal flightless bird, the people of New Zealand themselves, or the tart green fruit that grows abundantly on the North Island. 其实 kiwi 这个字可以用来代表非常多。首先呢，我们在这里打了逗号跟 which 是用来补充说明，你可以指的呢是这种不能飞的夜行奇异鸟， nocturnal 就是解释成为夜行的，或者也可以用来指的是 the people of New Zealand 纽西兰人，或者当然也可以用来指的是我们常常所知道的奇异果咯。而要注意的是，这一句也是一个倒装句，主词是 the kiwi， 动词是 is， 为了避免头重脚轻，后面加了一个补充说明的子句，所以我们就把它倒装了。 OK， 以上就是今天的课文讲解，谢谢收听。
That is it for today, but please join us next time because we're going to continue talking about New Zealand, and maybe we will inspire you to travel there someday soon. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.